What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. We got a good one for you today. We'll be going over 8 late round sleepers, 2 at each position. This is way more players than I usually go over in videos this off season, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I would like to thank Underdog for being so kind as to sponsor this video. They're a great platform. You guys know I use them in all the mock draft Mondays. I would never accept a sponsorship from a company that I didn't love. And that's why we have not taken a single one these past 2 years. But today's video will highlight 8 players you should absolutely be targeting in the late rounds on Underdog. If you do not use that platform, you should start. You can use promo code FFA so you get $25 free when you sign up for your first account. But if you don't use them, it is okay, because let's be honest. If I like someone on one platform, I like them everywhere else as well. These are just players I really like, but I do specifically think you should be targeting them on Underdog, and we're going to go over for every single one why that's the case. But first things first, have to start things off as usual, the stat of the day. Yesterday's stat was 3 players had a game with at least 32 carries last season. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook were 2 of them. I asked you guys who the third one was. The answer is David Montgomery. I do have to record this one on Friday, so I don't know who won yet, but I will try to remember to pin the winners in the comment section below. Today's stat: how many tight ends had a game with at least 30 fantasy points last season? All right, let's go over some sleepers. So the first position, we're going to go position by position in this one. First position we'll touch on is running back. I'm going to make a video specifically about my favorite strategies to use on Underdog, but my most used strategy is very, very similar to my season-long strategy. So really, this is just a strategy for me, no matter what platform you're using, is to take 2 to 3 running backs early, maybe mix in a tight end or a quarterback if they're available at a value, and then to just hammer out wide receivers in the middle rounds. If we use this strategy, we're going to be set at running back for a while, right? We've taken a few of them early. We have a lot of draft capital at that position. We don't need to be spending a mid-round pick at running back. And so when we get into late rounds, there are 2 different types of backs that we can take. We can take ones that have a very high weekly floor, okay? So guys who have a pass catching role, let's be honest, those are mostly the only ones going late that have a high weekly floor. You could argue guys like Latavius and Gus Edwards, but I mean, we're going late with this one. Or you can target guys who have absolutely no floor, but have a very, very high ceiling. So guys who could legitimately score, less than 5 fantasy points like 10 times. But if things work out in their favor, well, then you're going to have a really, really nice option. In general, maybe you want one of each, but it's going to depend on your build. So again, in a build that I really like on Underdog, it's taking some of these running backs early. If I take a lot of draft capital running back, well, I kind of want someone with a high floor, right? Because I know those guys are going to be getting me points basically every single week. Now when I'm in the later rounds, it's like I don't need someone to break out because I'm assuming a hit on running back if I'm going to win this league. I want high floor options. I want guys to, when my studs have like 1 or 2 games missed with injury, when they all go on bye, I at least have someone who's going to not crater my lineup. Because if I go for a high upside option, even if they hit, they might not be starting because I have great options. But if they don't hit and my guy's going by, what am I doing at the running back position, right? So I kind of want high floor options. But that being said, I'm going to give you one of each. So I'm going to give you 2 options. No matter what strategy you're building for specifically, these are guys. So for a high floor option, Giovanni Bernard. The Bucs were very vocal about how Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette were subpar in the receiving game last season. That is not shocking. This isn't coach speak where we're like, oh, really? They didn't like that? Of course, neither of these 2 is known for their pass catching ability. Neither of them is known for being efficient in that area. Then this offseason, they go out and they sign one of the best pass catching specialists in the league. Like, what do you think is going to happen, right? Like, put your thinking cap on this one. Like, Giovanni Bernard is going to play on third downs. He's going to play in 2-minute drills. Hurry up offense. They're going to create specific red zone packages where they're targeting the running back, or at least they might target the running back. They're going to pull Bernard onto the field. So it's not like, oh, he'll never get touchdowns because Fournette and Jones will be the goal line back. Sure. But if they're at the 10-yard line and it's third down, do you think Ronald Jones is going to be on the field? Probably not, right? It's probably going to be Bernard. So he can have a few receiving touchdowns. And again, we're very late in the draft. And we've already taken a few high upside running backs, a few running backs that we think can be great. I don't need this dude to break out and be a running back one. Bernard's not going to be a running back one. But that's not what I'm looking for with this pick. I'm looking for a nice weekly floor, going to get receptions, and he's going to have weeks where he scores touchdowns, can still be used. For the high upside option, Philip Lindsay. Now, this is a name I have not talked about a lot recently, but Houston's putrid, right? If you want to just completely fade Houston, that's fine. I'm probably doing that for everyone that is not a running back. But they're going to try and run the ball a ton this season. And let's be honest, Lindsay's good. Like, I don't think he was super efficient. I think he's a little bit overrated in his receiving abilities. But the fact of the matter is, Philip Lindsay is a quality NFL running back. He just is, okay? And are you going to tell me there's just no way that David Johnson gets hurt, right? And then they bring in Philip Lindsay and they're like, okay, Philip, you're getting a ton of touches, you're getting carries, you're getting targets out of the backfield. You're telling me that's impossible? You're telling me it's impossible that Watson doesn't get suspended this season, and then that also happens, and now Lindsay's what, a 2? And he's free. He's going at the very, very end of drafts. So when I'm looking for players like that, it's like, well, I know Lindsay's talented. All he needs is the opportunity. No one has the opportunity right now late, but the opportunity could be there. David Johnson's been hurt before. David Johnson also could regress. Maybe Lindsay just ends up being better than him, and they use him more. So again, using that strategy of multiple early running backs on Underdog, then we take tight ends, quarterbacks, wide receivers. If we're going back to the running back position, those are two guys that can fit that build. You could honestly take both. If you only wanted to take 2 running backs early, take Bernard late and then take Philip Lindsay. I think you've gotten one of each. I think that is a good start. At wide receiver, we're looking for a completely different mold because of how like Underdog works. Basically, like I need that ceiling. So I'm not looking for a Giovanni Bernard at wide receiver because I literally don't care if there's a consistent option that's going to get me 10, 11 points every week. You're not making my starting roster. And if you are, I didn't win anyways. So I don't want you, right? I want players who are going to score like 5, 6, 3, and then spike for 30. I want dudes who have a ceiling. Now, most of those guys go early because everyone wants that, but there are a few going late. And to me, some great options are Keelan Cole and Diami Brown. Cole is going to be an every down wide receiver on the Jets, and he is their best deep threat. Crowder's not a deep threat. More like both of them are going to play in the slot. They're unlikely to be used deep a lot. Corey Davis has a pretty bad success rate on deep balls. The Jets are also just in love with Keelan Cole. Like, they've just been like so excited about bringing him in. They think he's been the steal of free agency. He's been also quality when he's been given the option. And not only does he have that big play upside we're looking for, like he's not Tyreek Hill, right? I'm not trying to find the next Tyreek Hill. You should never do that. But he's got big play upside. He can score a deep touchdown. He can be used in that role. But he has the upside to carve out, a part of this offense even when he's not hitting, right? So it's like I'm not looking for that consistent option, but he can hit deep and he can just be their best receiver. I don't think that's likely. I think the most likely is that Elijah Moore, then it's Corey Davis, then it's Keelan Cole. But I'm not saying that it's like impossible. I genuinely believe Keelan Cole could be the best wide receiver on the Jets this season. And we don't know. Maybe Wilson is actually like a really good quarterback and he can support one nice option and that ends up being Keelan Cole. And again, he is free. And you're getting an every down wide receiver with a deep down the field role for free. Another one I love is, as I said, Diami Brown, the football team's rookie. He is a specialist deep. So if you're like, no, I don't want Keelan Cole, I don't even think there's an argument against Brown late on Underdog. Because again, he was incredibly successful in that role as a deep ball specialist in college. So even though, and this is actually why we get him late, is because Washington's crowded. Like, they have a good run game. They have a decent tight end. Then they have clearly McLaurin. They've got Curtis Samuel. And so people are like, oh, this is like far too crowded of an offense. He's never going to be used. Yeah, I mean, it's too crowded of an offense to like consistently trust him as an option in like a season-long format. But in best ball, we're just trying to capture spikes. And Dyami Brown is going to be a deep target for them. He's going to step onto the field and specifically be running deep routes, and he's going to hit on a few because Fitz is going to take shots. Fitz is a huge upgrade. I love this offense, and this is an easy way to get exposure to it. You miss out on Gibson. You miss out on McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel. You're like, no, I wanted a piece of Washington. Brown. That's how you should be doing it. And honestly, I genuinely believe you could even target him in a season-long format as well because I think he has upside, especially, I mean, we don't know what this Curtis Samuel injury is going to like result in. What if he's on the field on like every down? A lot of upside. We'll move on to tight end, where I don't really have any like enlightening strategy tips. Like, let's be honest, there's a really good tight end, two that are also fantastic that are dropped down, a handful that are decent, and then like everyone going late. It's like, hopefully they score a touchdown this year, right? Like, that's basically your strategy at tight end late, is try and find someone who's going to be an option. Two names I have for you are Adam Troutman and Zach Ertz. Ertz is interesting for me because two things could realistically happen. Like, either he stays with the Eagles and they just like run a bunch of two tight end sets because Devonta Smith is their only reliable receiving target, or he gets traded to a team that clearly wants him because they just traded for him. So if those are the only two outcomes, then he's probably a good sleeper as the 26th tight end off the board. Like, I know he was awful last season, and he's for sure taken a step back as a player. But it takes 6 points per game to exceed draft capital as the tight end 26 off the board, and that's not exactly asking a lot from Ertz. He's still only 30. He's not like 50 years old or anything. He was coming off 5 straight seasons where he had at least 75 receptions for over 800 yards before last year. So you're telling me that like he can't do that again? Of course he can do that again. Okay, so you're probably hoping he gets traded if you're making this pick, but honestly, it's a good pick either way. As for Troutman, who else are they going to throw to? Right? Like, Michael Thomas could be out until week 7, week 8. And they have no reliable depth behind him. Traquan Smith has been a disappointment in every single season. I do not, at this point, believe he's going to ever break out. Harris is facing a suspension. Like, Troutman doesn't have to be all that good to be a reliable target for this offense. And again, as late as he's going, it doesn't take that much. If he's going to be a red zone threat, if he's going to have any sort of consistent role in the offense, he'll be a quality tight end pick. The last position we'll go over today is quarterback. And this one is important on Underdog specifically because stacking is so important, right? It's obviously a bigger need in like their larger tournaments, but even in these 12-team leagues, you want that correlation because when you have a player that has a spiked week, you want multiple players to spike. You don't want to have like random spikes. You want to be like, oh, this guy went off. That means these two are going off too. And like, there's great correlation there. That's how you win these leagues. But the fact is, building a stack, can be difficult because everybody knows that. So if you're trying to stack Dak and Lamb, it's like, well, that's going to cost you a lot of draft capital. So maybe some of these expensive stacks aren't worth it because they're baked in that it's a stack and so you're having to pay more. But two cheap stacks that I like that you can probably get, you can definitely get under any single like starting position, but you can get in a lot of leagues, is Fitz to Dyami Brown. We talked about Brown a second ago. And then Sam Darnold to Terrace Marshall. None of those 4 players are going early, but each one of these stacks has a lot of upside. Like, Fitz is going to do well in this offense. I'm 100% certain of that. But McLaurin costs a lot. Samuel costs a lot, and is a bit of an unknown right now with that injury. But Brown, again, is free, and he's the type of player we like to target late. So if you're going to take 2 players late that both have correlation, that's the way to build a high upside roster. Then with Terrace Marshall, he's probably going to replace Curtis Samuel as the slot wide receiver, and he can excel in that role. Like, he's not like a pure slot receiver, right? It's not like he's going out there at like 5'9", 180 pounds, and it's like, oh, he can only work within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. No, he's 6'2", 205 pounds. He had a really, really nice college profile. Like, he dropped a little bit in the draft because of an injury, and people are a little bit concerned about that. But he could legitimately have a breakout season this year. And again, like, I don't want you to be scared that I probably shouldn't have even said that he's going to be a slot receiver. Basically just that he has a path to a lot of snaps right away, because you've got Moore, you've got Robbie Anderson, right? He's probably not overtaking them in week 1. But they're missing that slot receiver. And Marshall absolutely can play in that role, and he can also play on the outside. So if he starts breaking out and maybe something happens to Moore or Robbie Anderson, he's going to be an every down wide receiver, a very, very talented rookie, and he's got so much more upside than his current ADP indicates. And I love stacking him with Darnold because, like, what if you missed out on the elite quarterbacks, you took a chance at other positions, and you're like, oh no, right? Like, I don't have really any quarterbacks right now. Take Darnold, stack him with Terrace Marshall. You're opening up a lot of upside for free. So that is a ton of deep sleepers for you on Underdog as well as redraft leagues if you don't play on Underdog. But I highly recommend you start doing some drafts over there, even if it's just to like get ready for your redraft league. The ADPs are incredibly sharp, and you can gain exposure to a number of different players instead of in a redraft league starting off being like, oh, I have the 7 to 10 pick. I literally can't even have one of the top 5 players. Well, then do some Underdog drafts, gain exposure to a number of different players that you like, and that's a better way to have access to more elite players and to root for a higher range of players. Also, I'm going to be increasing the amount of drafts that I do each week over there, and it's a really good way for you guys to be part of these Mock Draft Monday episodes, because I'm going to tweet them out, I'm going to put them into Discord, and you can just join them in and you can be in the Mock Draft Monday. So remember, promo code FFA when signing up. You'll get a $25 deposit bonus, which is a boatload of free drafts. So that'll do it for this one. I hope you all enjoy. If you did, then how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.